Hey everyone, welcome to Salt. I am just making sure everything is working. So Miranda will be happy to entertain you as I check our thing and sending data. Yes, we are online. Did you entertain them?
I did. I hear the encore.
Yay. Sorry, Esma's not here. She's having a busy week over at the university. She works for the Office of Student Services. So she's like one of their cheerleaders. She's doing like social media for them, I think. But they all kind of help with, leading and cheering on the new freshmen and students and doing that kind of stuff. So she's over there now. And they are thrilled to have her. The director of Office of Student Services came over and like, we're so thrilled to have Aspen. Everyone says that she's so pretty and she's so good with
Because
kids.
that always qualifies you for any job.
Any job, yeah.
It's really not fair.
No, but I think Randy, now Aspen, and no one ever said that about me. He's so pretty, let's hire him. Words were never said. Anyway, so, yes, here we are. Welcome to Salt, where we will talk about deep, meaningful things like that.
Yes.
Yes. So.
Now, I always thought it was unfair that pretty people got bonuses in life.
Yes.
It didn't seem fair because there's plenty of people that are, they're just good, solid people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I was a little, when I first started teaching, I was a little aware of it, as in I had a couple of kids who thought they could get away with stuff because they were, the bold and the beautiful, and thought, well, I don't have to work as hard as others, and turns out you really do. But yeah, there's actually, since we're on the topic, there's a lot of research and evidence for the natural human inclination to trust people that we perceive as good looking. So they've done tests and studies where people will trust a stranger if they assume the stranger is, a good looking or attractive person. For some reason, that makes them more willing to trust someone even though they may be an evil serial killer. That seemed to be an issue. It's like we have that natural tendency, whereas if we see someone who we don't think is attractive or don't as appealing, we tend to distrust or push off. So it's an actual human trait.
Sadly.
It surely is. But has nothing to do with anything.
It has nothing.
About Sabbath school or what we're doing.
This was not at all on the list of things we were talking about today. But
I've used that in talks, but I can't remember the points I made with them. But
well, that's too bad, because if we had points with that, then
then
we just move on and
meaningful.
Yes.
Oh well. So we had fun today.
Well, God looks at the heart and not the outside.
Yes. Don't judge a book by its cover. God looks at the inside of a person.
Yes, all of David's good-looking older brothers were not chosen as king.
That's right. Yeah. There you go. I used to take great solace in that story, being that I was the youngest in the family at the time. So I was David. I was the runt, and I was really, really short for my age too for a long time. So I was like, you just watch. I'm David. I'm going to take down some Goliath at some point. And then you'll all be sorry. Then you'll love me.
This was not a therapy session.
We didn't plan it that way. Sorry.
Oh, my
So,
goodness.
Miranda, what are we talking about today other than my emotional baggage from the past?
We did spend a bit of time this week preparing for Sabbath school.
Yes.
It just kind of left Salt a little bit to the side. But yes, we did have a story. Like we were moving stuff around. Actually, it wasn't this week. It was the week before.
Which is why we still have a blank wall.
Yes, the wall is still blank, and it makes
me crazy.
Yes, because he wants it to look really great, and so do I. But we need to order this stuff first, see what size frames we need to get. That's basically what we need to do, is figure out what size frames we need to get. So, anyways, yeah, so we're moving stuff around, and because of that, now we have a couple things. I was trying to make more space to put stuff. In the meantime, I must have made less space, because all of a sudden we have 2 extra lamps that now we have no space for. But so Brett decided that he would take those over to his office with him, because he's got this really strange light set up over there.
Yeah, they did it. It's not just my office, it's the whole building. Actually, I think it's all of most of the buildings. It's on a motion sensor, and so as long as there's movement, or it's supposed to save energy. If there's nobody in there and the light gets turned on, the lights will turn off because it doesn't sense any movement. So, but when they arrange the furniture in my office, the light switch is right next to the door, and there's a bookshelf right next to it. And so it blocks the sensor from being able to see me at my desk. So it's constantly turning off. And because the bookshelf is there, for me to turn it back, I have to like really wheel around and wave my arm and get way over and lean, and then it'll turn back on. But eventually it'll turn off again. And that was, it's kind of a pain. Not that it's related, but it reminds me of when they first installed these things. It was at a new building, the new science, but not new now, but way back in the day it was new, at Southern, at the, they had just built a new science building, and they put in motion detector lights, and they had a science teacher who was notoriously dull. Kids, would always like falling asleep in class. And the lights kept going off during his class because it detected no movement during the period. And it's because he just taught from a lectern and did not move enough for a light detector to think there's something alive happening in this class. It's like, nope, it's dead. Turn it off. Anyway, yeah, so I'm constantly fighting that in my office. Lights turning off while I'm busy trying to work.
Yeah, I thought we bought some little toy train that you were going to operate from remote control?
Yeah, we did get a Thomas thing, and it's over there. And I used it a couple of times. It's noisy, and the idea was to just get a little train I could or something I just remote control and have it move, and the light would turn on, I could bring it right back. This thing, it was a cool toy, but it's like 2 little things on a yoke, and so when you move it, it moves haphazardly around, and it just got to be more of a, I'd get over there, and then I couldn't get it back because it would get stuck under the chair, or I just couldn't go from. So now it just sits over there, and the students play with it.
Yeah. Okay, so speaking of light, it reminded me of a story, because he stood there and had no motion, and the lights went off, even though he was supposed to be, or he was teaching. Yeah. So it reminded me of how people's actions can change when the light comes on. Because when we lived in Lincoln, Nebraska, I woke up one night, probably 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and I heard someone at the next house. Our places were really close together, and it sounded like they were trying to steal the bicycle. And so I got up and I turned on the bedroom light. Of course, that person had to have seen that. So no sooner did I turn on that light than I could hear someone running across the yard, and they had parked in the parking space behind our house. And they jumped in the car and they took off. I thought that was very interesting how light changed their actions, which actually goes along with what we're talking about. Yeah. So Brett needs light all the time in order to be able to see things in the office. Otherwise, and it's amazing because he actually has a corner office, right? So you've got light on both sides and such, but it's still not enough really to be able to work.
Because one side there's just trees, and it's pretty when it's, daylight time, but it's covered with trees and stuff, so not a lot of light gets in.
So it made me think of the verses Matthew 5, 13 and 14, where it starts out that we are the salt of the earth. And then verse 14, that we are to be the light of the world, sitting on a hill where people can see it. And so to be the salt of the earth means that we live out the love of God, right? and sprinkling that salt shaker into all the situations of life. I tell you, when I'm eating lunch, I love to sprinkle that salt shaker. Yum. It's tasty. And if we take it in context, Jesus had just finished a Sermon on the Mount, saying things like, "Blessed are the meek, and the peacemakers, and the merciful, and the pure in heart," among other things. And all of these things are lived out because of the love of God in our lives. And that's what happens when we have the love of God in our lives, that now we become meek and peacemakers and merciful and have pure hearts. And so when we're the salt of the earth, we're also the light of the world. It's salt of the earth, living out the love of God, and now that creates that light. A town built on a hill that cannot be hidden. And it can't be hidden because living out the love of God is noticeably different than not living out the love of God. There is a difference in people's actions, and people notice it. When you work with people in a non-Christian environment, the people notice that you are different and you act differently. But salt is also used as a preservative. And just to kind of simplify it, basically salt pulls the water out of the microbe cells, and the microbes shrink and die without the water. And of course, it's the microbes that cause the food to go bad, right?
Yeah.
And so the love of God in our lives helps preserve who God created us to be, which keeps our light to the world turned on.
Yeah. And I know it's different than Jesus meant it to be, I think, although I think Jesus would completely approve of the idea. But it's that being the salt of the earth, in a practical sense, it's being salt to people is like, what can you do to remove, things, I don't know how to say it, how to pull out negative things, how to make people's lives better, because you're able to, as it, pulls and kills the microbes, you're able to do things for people that, remove or help with
Right.
negative
It
things.
could give them a different perspective on a situation.
You can help them in
something.
some way that
They
makes
weren't
their
they
life
weren't
easier,
expecting
yeah,
it.
And it takes out some of the, sour things of life when you can help make things a little saltier.
That's true.
So there you go.
Yes.
All right, well, I think that's it.
That's it.
That's it. All right, well, thanks for joining us. Thanks for listening to my earlier emotional outburst and helping with my recovery. And so I hope you had a...
Hey, I have recovery too.
She has better recovery than I do.
I just had to throw that in there.
She does. She's way better than I am. So yeah, thanks for joining us. Hope you had a great Sabbath, and we'll